In the year 2471, humanity stood on the cusp of a new era. The Earth had transformed from a chaotic, war-torn planet into a sprawling utopia, governed by a council of enlightened beings who had mastered technology and the complexities of interstellar diplomacy. Earth was no longer isolated. It was a member of the Galactic Alliance, a coalition of advanced civilizations that stretched across the stars. To these aliens, humanity had evolved from its primitive past into a curious species that, while still volatile, had shown remarkable resilience and ingenuity. Yet, within the hallowed halls of the Alliance, there were rumors that echoed like shadows, casting doubt on humanity's place among the stars. The Galactic Council often referred to humanity as the primitive ones, despite their undeniable achievements. To them, Earth was a petri dish of raw emotion, chaotic passions, and unpredictable behavior. They regarded humanity's past wars, poverty, and the environmental collapse of the early 21st century as evidence that humans were too unstable to truly grasp the universe's deeper mysteries. Dr. Alara Voss, a physicist and interstellar diplomat, stood at the forefront of humanity's mission to prove them wrong. She was one of the leading scientists behind the Earth Initiative, a project that sought to unlock the secrets of dimensional travel. The goal was to explore the fabric of reality itself, to punch a hole through dimensions and reveal the true nature of existence. While the other species in the Alliance watched from a distance, some with skepticism, Alara was determined to push the boundaries of what they thought humanity could achieve. Alara's team had worked tirelessly, pouring countless hours into their research, and today they stood at the precipice of success. The lab was abuzz with anticipation as she prepared to initiate the first test of the Dimensional Displacement Engine, a colossal machine designed to generate a controlled rift in the fabric of space-time. As she calibrated the parameters, she felt the weight of her responsibility. This was more than just a scientific experiment. It was a chance to show the galaxy that humans were more than their past mistakes. "Are we ready?" she asked, her voice steady despite the flicker of nerves in her stomach. "Almost," replied Marcus, her lead engineer. "Just running the final diagnostics." The room hummed with the energy of potential as the technicians finalized their preparations. Alara took a deep breath, allowing herself a moment to think about how far they had come. Once considered a failed experiment of the cosmos, humanity now stood on the brink of a breakthrough that could redefine their identity. "Diagnostics complete," Marcus announced, his voice crackling with excitement. "We're green across the board." Alara's heart raced. "Initiate the sequence." The machinery roared to life, lights flashing as the engine's core began to spin. A low thrum resonated through the floor, vibrating in her chest. Alara focused on the swirling patterns of energy forming in front of them, a vivid tapestry of colors that seemed to stretch and shimmer like liquid. It was beautiful, mesmerizing, and terrifying all at once. "Rift stabilization at 70%, came the report from another technician. Alara felt the pull of the rift, an intoxicating blend of power and mystery. It danced before them, beckoning them closer to the unknown. "Increase stabilization. We need to hold it steady." But the energy surged, the colors swirling violently, and a crack of thunder split the air. The rift flickered, unstable for a moment, then solidified into a clear portal. It pulsed rhythmically, as if breathing, and the air grew thick with anticipation. They had done it. They had created a window into another dimension. "Stabilization holding," Marcus confirmed, but Alara's eyes were fixed on the rift, drawn to its depths. "Let's send a probe through," she decided. "We need to see what's on the other side." As they prepared the probe, she felt a mix of fear and excitement. What lay beyond the veil of reality? Would it be a glimpse into the unknown, or a reminder of the dangers lurking in the vast cosmos? With the probe calibrated, Alara took a deep breath and activated the launch sequence. The probe zipped through the rift, disappearing into the swirling colors. The room erupted in cheers, but Alara kept her focus on the readings, her heart pounding with anticipation. A minute passed, and just as she began to feel a flicker of doubt, the probe's feed activated. An array of images filled the monitor's glimpses of alien landscapes, strange flora, and bizarre creatures that defied imagination. They were awe-inspiring and terrifying, visions of a universe so vastly different from their own. Then, suddenly, the screen flickered and distorted. A static-filled voice crackled through the speakers, a garbled transmission from the probe. Danger, shut it down. The warning was too late. The rift began to pulse violently, and alarms blared throughout the lab. Ilara's heart sank as she realized the energy output was spiraling out of control. "Close the rift, now," she shouted, urgency slicing through the air. Marcus scrambled to his console, fingers flying over the controls. "I'm trying, it's—" Before he could finish, the rift erupted with blinding light. An explosion of energy washed over them, and Ilara felt herself being pulled toward the swirling chaos. In an instant, the world around her dissolved, and she was engulfed in a torrent of color and sound. When she regained consciousness, Ilara found herself lying on the ground, surrounded by a landscape that seemed to shift and shimmer like the rift itself. The air was thick and heavy, filled with a kaleidoscope of colors and an eerie silence. The horizon stretched endlessly, bending and warping in ways that defied the laws of physics. It was beautiful, surreal, and undeniably unsettling. Struggling to her feet, Ilara looked around, her mind racing. Where was she? Was this the other side of the rift? As she scanned her surroundings, a figure emerged from the haze. It was humanoid, but not quite human, with elongated limbs and skin that glimmered like the surface of a distant star. "Welcome," the being said, its voice echoing in her mind rather than her ears. "You have crossed into the realm of the anomaly." Ilara blinked, bewildered. "The anomaly?" The being nodded, its gaze penetrating. "Yes, you have sought the truth, and now you stand before it." "Where am I?" she asked, her voice trembling. "What is this place?" "This is a dimension beyond your understanding, a realm where the threads of reality intertwine, where time and space are malleable. You were drawn here by your curiosity, a trait both admirable and perilous." Ilara took a step back, her thoughts racing. "I need to get back. My team." "Your team is safe, for now. But you must understand, your actions have consequences. You have pierced the veil of reality, and in doing so, you have awakened forces that have long lain dormant." "What do you mean?" Ilara pressed, her heart pounding. "What forces?" "Those who dwell within the anomaly are both creators and destroyers. They shape worlds and unravel them. Your intrusion has not gone unnoticed, and they will judge whether humanity is worthy of existence in the tapestry of the cosmos." Fear clutched at Ilara's heart. She had meant to prove humanity's potential. But what if they were deemed unworthy? "What must I do?" "Seek the truth within yourself. Only by understanding your own nature can you hope to influence the greater reality. Embrace your potential, for it is both your gift and your curse." With those words, the being began to fade into the shimmering landscape, leaving Ilara alone. She felt the weight of its message bearing down on her. The truth was not just out there in the universe, it was within her, in every choice humanity had made, every triumph and every failure. Determined, she began to explore this strange realm, each step revealing fragments of knowledge. Visions of her world flashed before her, moments of love, anger, hope, and despair. She saw humanity's history unfold, each event a thread in the intricate tapestry of existence. The wars, the peace treaties, the scientific breakthroughs, and the failures, they all shaped the essence of what it meant to be human. Days turned into what felt like moments, and as she wandered, Ilara came to a profound realization. Humanity's primitive past was not a hindrance, it was the foundation of their growth. Every mistake was a lesson, every hardship a step toward enlightenment. They were not perfect, but they were resilient, capable of learning and evolving. It was this potential for change that defined them. As the truth settled within her, she felt the landscape shift again. The colors swirled and twisted, and she found herself standing once more at the threshold of the rift, back in the lab. The chaos of the explosion had subsided, and her team looked at her with a mixture of relief and concern. "Dr. Voss," Marcus rushed to her side. "What happened? We thought we lost you." Alara smiled, the weight of her experience still heavy in her heart. "We didn't lose anyone. We've been given an opportunity." "What do you mean?" a technician asked, eyes wide with curiosity. She turned to her team, a newfound determination in her voice. "We've seen the truth of who we are. It's time to show the galaxy that humanity is ready to embrace its potential. We must share what we've learned and prove that our past does not define us, it shapes us." With excitement as Alara's words ignited a spark within her team, they gathered around her, eager to hear more. "Dr. Voss, what exactly did you see?" Marcus asked, his eyes searching hers for answers. "I saw the tapestry of our existence," Alara replied, her voice steady. "Every thread, every event, it all intertwines to show us how far we've come. We have the power to learn from our mistakes and evolve. But more importantly, we have the ability to prove ourselves to the galaxy." The team nodded, a renewed sense of purpose washing over them. They had spent so long striving to prove humanity's worth, but now they had a clearer vision of what that meant. "We can share our findings," another technician, Kira, suggested. "We can demonstrate how we've changed, how we've evolved." "Yes," Alara agreed, feeling the adrenaline surge through her veins. "But we need to be strategic. The Galactic Council may not be willing to listen to us just because we ask. We must present them with evidence of our growth, our understanding of the universe." As they discussed their next steps, Alara outlined a plan to compile their experiences from the rift and the knowledge she had gained. They would gather testimonials from historians, scientists, and everyday people about how humanity had transformed over the centuries. They would create a comprehensive presentation showcasing not only their technological advancements, but also their emotional and philosophical evolution. Days turned into weeks as the team worked tirelessly. They traveled to different parts of Earth, collecting stories from individuals whose lives had been changed by conflict, innovation, and compassion. They recorded how humanity had risen from the ashes of its own mistakes, fighting against ignorance and striving for unity. The tales were woven together, each one a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Alara felt invigorated by the project. Each story she heard deepened her understanding of what it meant to be human. They were flawed, yes, but that very imperfection was what made them beautiful. Each person she interviewed had their own battles and triumphs, weaving a rich tapestry of experiences that illustrated the complexity of their existence. Finally, the day of the presentation arrived. The team had set up a holographic display in the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council, a vast hall filled with representatives from various species. The air was thick with anticipation and skepticism as they prepared to share their findings. Alara stood at the forefront, heart racing but resolute. The council, a diverse group of beings with varying appearances and cultural nuances, sat in their elevated seats, gazing down at her with expressions ranging from curiosity to condescension. She could feel their scrutiny weighing heavily upon her. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Council," Alara began, her voice steady despite the fluttering in her stomach. "Today, we stand before you not just as representatives of Earth, but as a testament to the resilience of humanity. We have learned from our past, and we wish to share our journey with you." As she spoke, the holographic display came to life, presenting images and videos of the stories they had gathered. The screen shifted between scenes of war-torn landscapes, juxtaposed with moments of compassion, community, and innovation. The council watched in silence, some leaning forward, intrigued. "Humanity's history is marked by conflict," Alara continued, "but it is also filled with instances of unity, courage, and progress. We have grappled with our demons, and in doing so, we have forged a path toward enlightenment." As the stories unfolded, Alara could see the council's expressions shifting. The beings who had once regarded humanity as primitive were now witnessing the depth of their evolution. She highlighted pivotal moments in Earth's history: the abolition of slavery, the rise of civil rights movements, the fight for environmental sustainability. Each story was a thread that wove humanity's identity into a complex, vibrant tapestry. "Each one of us carries the weight of our history," she concluded, her voice resonating with conviction. But it is this very history that has shaped us into a species capable of growth, of change. We are not perfect, but we strive to be better. We ask you to reconsider your perception of humanity, for we believe we can contribute to the Galactic Alliance in meaningful ways. The chamber was silent for a moment. Then, a member of the council, an imposing figure with shimmering scales and personage eyes, stood to speak. Dr. Voss, you have shown us a glimpse of your world's evolution. But evolution is not merely a matter of history, it is also about the present and the future. What assurances can you provide that humanity will continue to evolve, rather than revert to its primitive ways? Alara took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the question. Our past has taught us valuable lessons. We understand the fragility of peace and the importance of cooperation. We have formed alliances, engaged in dialogues, and prioritized education. Our journey is ongoing, but we have committed ourselves to progress. We want to learn from others and share our knowledge. The council member nodded, considering her words. And what of your technological advancements? Will they be used to uplift or to destroy? Alara felt a pang of anxiety. We recognize that technology is a double-edged sword. Our goal is to use it to foster understanding, to bridge gaps, and to create a better future. The very rift we created was a testament to our desire for knowledge, not conquest. We wish to explore the cosmos, not as conquerors, but as explorers and learners. Another member of the council, a small, feathered being with a melodic voice, chimed in. Your passion is commendable, but words alone cannot assure us of your intentions. What will you do to demonstrate your commitment to the Galactic Alliance? Alara glanced at her team, then back at the council. We propose a collaborative initiative, joint projects between humanity and other civilizations to explore and understand the dimensions we've only just begun to glimpse. We want to learn from you and share our findings, fostering a relationship built on mutual respect and shared knowledge. The chamber buzzed with murmurs, and Alara felt a surge of hope. Perhaps they were beginning to see the potential in humanity. After a few moments, the council members huddled together, their conversations low and intense. Alara could only wait, her heart pounding in her chest. Finally, the same council member who had questioned her stepped forward. You present a compelling case, Dr. Voss. We will deliberate further on your proposal. However, understand that this is merely the beginning. The path to proving your worth is fraught with challenges. Alara nodded, feeling a mixture of relief and anticipation. Thank you for your consideration. We are ready to take on those challenges. As the council session concluded, Alara and her team exited the chamber, their hearts lighter than they had been in weeks. They had made their case, but it was just the first step in a long journey. The weight of the council's judgment still loomed over them, but for the first time, she felt a sense of optimism. In the weeks that followed, the council's deliberation continued. Alara and her team were tasked with further refining their proposal, and they worked tirelessly to prepare for their next meeting. They knew that every detail mattered, that every question would be scrutinized, and that they had to be ready to showcase their commitment to the Galactic Alliance. During this time, Alara found herself reflecting on her experience in the anomaly. The knowledge she had gained resonated deeply within her. Humanity's journey was one of struggle and growth, but it was also a journey of connection. They were part of a larger universe, and their story was woven into the fabric of existence. Finally, the day arrived for their follow-up presentation. The atmosphere in the chamber was charged with anticipation. Alara stood before the council again, her team behind her, each of them radiating determination. She had crafted a more detailed plan that outlined specific initiatives and partnerships they hoped to establish with other species. Esteemed members of the council, she began, her voice steady. Thank you for the opportunity to present our refined proposal. Today, we aim to illustrate not just our commitment to progress, but our willingness to collaborate with each of you in meaningful ways. As she spoke, the holographic display lighted the room once more, showcasing partnerships between Earth and various species. They highlighted potential projects focused on energy sustainability, interstellar agriculture, and cultural exchanges that would enrich both humanity and the Alliance. After her presentation, the council members deliberated once again. This time, however, the atmosphere felt different, less skeptical, more curious. Elara could sense a shift in their attitudes, and she clung to the hope that they were beginning to see humanity as more than just the remnants of its past. Eventually, the lead council member stood again, a glimmer of something akin to approval in their eyes. "Your vision is ambitious, Dr. Voss. We appreciate the depth of your proposal and your willingness to engage with other civilizations. However, we still require assurances that your species will adhere to the principles of cooperation and respect that underpin our alliance." Elara nodded earnestly. "We are committed to transparency and collaboration. We understand that trust must be earned, and we are prepared to demonstrate our dedication through actions, not just words." The council members exchanged glances, and after a moment, the lead member continued. "We will allow you to proceed with a pilot project. You will partner with a designated species from the Alliance to embark on a collaborative initiative aimed at exploring the dimensions you have accessed. However, know that your actions will be closely monitored. This is an opportunity, but also a test." Elara's heart soared. "Thank you. We won't disappoint you. We will show you the best of humanity." Celebration, a mix of laughter and relief filling the chamber. Elara felt a profound sense of gratitude and determination. They had been given a chance to prove themselves, not just to the Galactic Council, but to the entire universe. The first step in their new initiative was to select a partner species. Elara and her team reviewed the profiles of various civilizations in the Galactic Alliance, each with unique cultures and technologies. They needed a species that would not only complement their capabilities, but also challenge their understanding of the cosmos. After careful consideration, they decided to reach out to the Vorith, an ancient and highly advanced race known for their mastery of energy manipulation and their philosophical approach to existence. The Vorith had a reputation for being elusive, and few had the privilege of collaborating with them. Elara felt a tingle of excitement at the prospect. The initial contact with the Vorith was conducted through a holographic conference. The team gathered in their lab, Elara at the forefront, as a shimmering image of a Vorith envoy appeared. The being resembled a flowing, iridescent cloud, its form shifting fluidly as it spoke. "Greetings, representatives of Earth. I am Envoy Xylath of the Vorith Collective. We have received your proposal for collaboration and are intrigued by your ambitions." Elara felt her heart race. "Thank you for your willingness to engage with us, Envoy Xylath. We believe that by working together, we can explore the anomaly and uncover new dimensions of understanding." Xylath's form shifted, its colors pulsing gently. "We have observed humanity's recent progress and are curious about your evolution. However, the Vorith do not take partnership lightly. Our collaboration will require deep trust and a shared commitment to the pursuit of knowledge." "We understand," Elara replied, her voice steady. "We are ready to demonstrate our dedication and to learn from you. Our shared goal is to explore and understand the multiverse and to ensure that our findings benefit both our species." Xylath considered her words for a moment before nodding. "Very well, Dr. Voss. We will embark on this journey together. However, know that our methods may differ from yours. Prepare yourself for an experience that will challenge your perceptions." As the meeting concluded, Elara exchanged excited glances with her team. They had taken a significant step forward, but they also felt a mixture of apprehension and anticipation about what lay ahead. In the following weeks, Elara and her team worked closely with the Vorith. They traveled to a research facility on a nearby moon, a place teeming with advanced technology and serene energy fields. The Vorith environment was mesmerizing lush. Biolite flora surrounded their laboratory, pulsating with colors that seemed to resonate with the very essence of life. As they settled in, the teams began to exchange ideas and methodologies. The Vorith introduced them to techniques of energy manipulation that allowed them to stabilize dimensional rifts with unparalleled precision. They learned to harness the energy of the cosmos, to use it as a tool rather than a weapon. Alora was captivated. Each day brought new discoveries, and she found herself pushing the boundaries of her understanding. However, the Vorith also challenged her and her team to confront their own limitations and assumptions. They encouraged them to meditate on their intentions and the ethical implications of their work, fostering a deeper understanding of their own motivations. One day, as they were conducting a joint experiment, the Vorith led a session of guided meditation before beginning their work. Alora sat cross-legged on the ground, surrounded by her team and the flowing forms of the Vorith. The air shimmered with energy, and Alora felt a wave of calm wash over her. "Focus on your intentions," Xylath instructed, its voice melodic and resonant. "What do you seek to understand in the depths of the anomaly?" Alora closed her eyes, allowing her mind to drift. She reflected on humanity's past, the wars, the suffering, the triumphs. She thought about her own journey, her desire to prove that humanity could rise above its history. As she meditated, she felt a connection to her team, to the Vorith, and to the universe itself. The collective consciousness swirled around them, vibrant and alive. Suddenly, a vision pierced through her meditation, a glimpse of the anomaly, swirling and vast, a realm of infinite possibilities. Within it, she saw shadows, figures that danced between dimensions, their intentions unclear but filled with power. A shiver ran down her spine, and she opened her eyes, gasping for breath. "What did you see?" Xylath asked, its form shifting closer, shimmering with curiosity. "I saw something," Alora stammered, struggling to articulate the vision. "Shadows in the anomaly, beings that moved through dimensions, but I couldn't tell if they were protectors or threats." The Vorith exchanged glances, their colors flickering with concern. "The anomaly is a realm of great power, and those who dwell within it are not easily understood. We must approach it with caution. Our journey may reveal truths that challenge our very understanding of existence." Determined to uncover the nature of these shadows, Alora proposed they expand their research into the deeper layers of the anomaly. The Vorith agreed, recognizing the importance of understanding potential threats as well as opportunities. As they prepared for their next expedition, Alora felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. They would utilize the dimensional displacement engine, refined through their collaboration, to venture deeper into the anomaly than any human had before. On the day of the expedition, the air buzzed with energy. Alora and her team gathered around the engine, flanked by the Vorith. Together, they initiated the sequence, feeling the familiar hum of power build around them. "Stabilization at 90%, one of Alora's technicians reported, his eyes wide with anticipation. "Prepare to launch the probe," Alora instructed, her heart racing. She felt a sense of unity with her team and the Vorith as they worked together toward a common goal. With a final confirmation, they sent the probe through the rift, the energy swirling around them like a tempest. The screens lit up, revealing breathtaking vistas of the anomaly, a swirling tapestry of colors and shapes that defied logic. "Feeding live data," Marcus said, his fingers dancing over the controls. But as they delved deeper, the images shifted. The colors darkened, and shadows began to emerge, figures moving gracefully through the chaos. The probe captured glimpses of their forms, ethereal yet imposing, shifting and blending with the surrounding energy. Suddenly, the feed flickered, and a deep, resonant voice echoed through the chamber, sending chills down Alora's spine. "Why do you intrude upon our realm, fragile beings?" The voice reverberated within her mind, as if speaking directly to her essence. Alora felt the weight of its presence, an ancient power that transcended time and space. "We seek understanding," she called out, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her veins. "We wish to learn, to explore, and to bridge the gaps between our worlds." Silence fell. The shadows shifted, and the voice replied, "Understanding is a double-edged sword. You tread upon sacred ground, and the consequences of your actions may ripple through existence. What do you offer in return for your knowledge?" Alora exchanged glances with her team and the Vorith. They had expected resistance, but the weight of the being's words filled her with urgency. "We offer our commitment to cooperation, to respecting the balance of existence. We seek to protect the knowledge we gain, not exploit it. The shadows shifted closer, their forms coalescing into a more defined shape. A figure stepped forward, its presence both intimidating and intriguing. You speak of respect, yet your history is rife with destruction. Prove your intentions. What do you wish us to do? Ilara replied, her heart pounding. We will show you our sincerity. Journey to the core of the anomaly, the being instructed. There lies a wellspring of energy that fuels the multiverse. Protect it from those who seek to corrupt it, and only then may you be deemed worthy of understanding our realm. Ilara felt a surge of determination. We will do this. We will protect the core and demonstrate that humanity can be a force for good. With the being's guidance, they set their course deeper into the anomaly. As they traveled, Ilara marveled at the beauty surrounding them, the swirling colors, the ebb and flow of energy. But she also felt the weight of their mission. They were stepping into unknown territory, and the stakes had never been higher. Finally, they reached the core, a vast, pulsating sphere of energy that radiated warmth and light. It was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Ilara could feel its power coursing through her, filling her with a sense of purpose. But they were not alone. As they approached the core, they sensed a disturbance, a dark force gathering, seeking to corrupt the energy that sustained the multiverse. Shadows coalesced into forms, malevolent beings intent on destruction. We must protect the core, Ilara shouted, her voice filled with urgency. Prepare the defenses. The Vorith activated their energy manipulation techniques, creating barriers of light around the core. Ilara and her team joined forces, using their own technology to stabilize the area, channeling energy to protect it from the encroaching darkness. We can't let them breach the core. Focus your energy, strengthen the barriers. The shimmering light around them flickered as the shadows pressed harder. Ilara's heart raced as she monitored the energy levels. We need more power, she called out, and the Vorith formed intricate patterns with their hands, drawing energy from the very fabric of the anomaly. As their combined strength surged, the barrier glowed brighter, momentarily pushing back the darkness. Ilara could feel the core resonating with their resolve, its energy synchronizing with their own determination. But the shadows weren't deterred. They twisted and roared, an echo of chaos that filled the air. One of the shadow beings stepped forward, its form shifting between shapes, a swirling mass of despair and malice. You cannot hope to protect what you do not understand. Fragile beings, your kind has always sought to dominate rather than to coexist. Ilara squared her shoulders, meeting the shadow's gaze. We are not here to dominate. We seek understanding and cooperation. We recognize our past mistakes, and we're determined to change. The being laughed, a haunting sound that reverberated through the air. Change is a slow, painful process, and yet your very existence threatens the balance of the multiverse. Why should we allow you to continue? Because we've learned, Ilara replied, her voice steady. We've seen the consequences of our actions. We want to be guardians, not conquerors. We wish to learn from you, to understand this realm, and ensure it remains safe from harm. In that moment, she felt a flicker of doubt in the shadow's presence. It hesitated, and Ilara seized the opportunity. If you want proof of our intentions, let us help you. Together, we can protect the core from those who would exploit its power. A tense silence hung in the air, and Ilara could see the shadows swirling uncertainly. The being regarded her with a mixture of skepticism and curiosity. You would offer your aid to a force you barely comprehend? We would, Ilara affirmed. Let us work together. Show us how to protect this realm, and in return, we can help you understand that humanity can be more than its past. The shadow being swirled, seemingly contemplating her offer. Finally, it spoke, its voice softer but still resonant. Very well. We will allow you to demonstrate your sincerity, but know this, failure will come at a great cost. With that, the shadows began to recede slightly, revealing the core in all its brilliance. Ilara felt a surge of relief mixed with determination. They had a chance to prove themselves, but the task ahead was daunting. Form a new barrier, Xylath instructed, its voice filled with urgency. "We need to stabilize the core and repel any further incursions." Alara and her team worked swiftly, weaving together the energy they had gathered. The Vorith channeled the core's light into protective shields, creating layers of defense that pulsed with power. The shadows roared in frustration, but now they were met with a formidable wall of energy. As they held their ground, Alara could sense the darkness testing their resolve, probing for weaknesses. The air crackled with tension, and she felt the weight of their mission pressing down on her. This was more than just a battle for the core. It was a fight for humanity's future in the cosmos. "Remember our purpose," she called out to her team. "We're here to protect, to learn, and to show them that we can coexist." With renewed determination, they reinforced their barriers, redirecting energy from the core to push back against the encroaching shadows. Alara felt the pulsating rhythm of the core syncing with her heartbeat, guiding her thoughts, urging her to remain focused. Suddenly, the shadows began to swirl more aggressively, forming a massive vortex that threatened to engulf everything in its path. "We must break their focus," Xylath shouted, its form shimmering with intensity. "Disrupt their formation." Alara nodded, formulating a plan. "We need to create a diversion. If we can scatter their concentration, we can buy ourselves time." She directed her team to channel energy into a focused beam, a dazzling array of colors that shot toward the swirling vortex. The shadows recoiled, momentarily distracted by the blinding light. Alara seized the opportunity and shouted, "Now, push back!" With all their might, they directed the energy forward, shattering the darkness and revealing glimpses of the core's brilliance. The shadows writhed, struggling to maintain their cohesion as the light intensified. "Keep pushing," Alara urged, her voice ringing with urgency. They could do this. They had to do this. As the shadows began to disintegrate, a strange phenomenon occurred. The darkness started to unravel, revealing glimpses of a deeper layer and echo of the multiverse itself. Alara realized that the shadows weren't merely destructive. They were manifestations of fears and conflicts that spanned dimensions. "Look," she called out, pointing toward the shimmering remnants. "They're reflections of our struggles. If we can understand this, we can help them find their way back." Xylath nodded in agreement. "You're right, Dr. Voss. They are not our enemies but echoes of unresolved conflict. We must reach out to them, not with violence but with understanding." With that realization, Alara focused her energy, channeling compassion and hope into the heart of the shadows. "We don't wish to destroy you," she called into the void. "We want to help. Let us show you the path to healing and understanding." The shadows hesitated, swirling uncertainly. Alara felt a shift in the energy around her, a flicker of recognition. They were beginning to understand her intent. "Together, we can transform this darkness," she continued, her voice resonating with conviction. "Let us unite our strengths and create a new balance, one that honors all our experiences." As she spoke, the shadows began to coalesce into a more defined form, and Alara could see faint flickers of light within them, glimpses of potential. They were no longer just destructive. They were evolving, becoming more than their anger and despair. The swirling mass gradually began to stabilize, a shimmering bridge forming between the core and the shadows. Alara felt a surge of hope. "This is it. We can create a new understanding." With the energy flowing freely between them, the darkness transformed, no longer menacing but an intricate tapestry of experiences. Alara, Xylath, and their team channeled their combined energy, weaving it into the shadows, nurturing the flickers of light within. And then, a powerful burst of energy erupted from the core, lighting the entire chamber. The shadows danced with vibrant colors, merging into a harmonious spectacle that resonated with the rhythm of the universe. Alara watched in awe as the darkness became a living embodiment of understanding, reflecting humanity's struggles, the Vorith's wisdom, and the essence of existence itself. The being that had first confronted them emerged from the swirling energy, its form now personage and filled with purpose. "You have shown us that even in darkness, there is light," it spoke, its voice resonating with a newfound clarity. We will heed your call for cooperation, and together, we will safeguard the balance of the multiverse." Ilara felt tears of joy welling in her eyes. They had succeeded. Not only had they protected the core, but they had also forged a connection with the shadows, a bridge of understanding that transcended their differences. "We are honored," Ilara replied, her heart swelling with pride. "Together, we can create a future filled with hope and collaboration." The shadows shimmered, the vortex dispersing into a beautiful display of colors, a living testament to their journey. The core pulsed with energy, radiating warmth and light, and Ilara knew they had crossed a threshold, one that could change the fate of humanity and the entire galactic alliance. As they prepared to return to their base, Ilara looked back at the core, feeling a profound sense of gratitude. They had not only proven themselves to the Galactic Council, but had also embraced the complexities of existence. Returning to the research facility, they were met with cheers from their team and the Vorith. They shared stories of their experience, the lessons learned, and the bonds forged in the depths of the anomaly. In the days that followed, Ilara and her team worked tirelessly to document their findings and present their results to the Galactic Council. They compiled their experiences into a comprehensive report, highlighting not just the technological advancements, but the transformative power of collaboration and understanding. When the day came to present their findings, Ilara stood before the council once again, her heart steady and filled with hope. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Council," she began, "we stand here today not just as representatives of Earth, but as ambassadors of change. Our journey through the anomaly has revealed profound truths about existence, cooperation, and the potential for understanding." As she spoke, she shared the experiences they had gathered from their partnership with the Vorith and the revelations gained from the shadows. The holographic display lit the chamber, showcasing their triumphs, the energy harmonizing with the Council's atmosphere. "We have proven that humanity is capable of growth, of learning from its past, and of forging new paths. We ask for your continued support and collaboration as we explore the multiverse together, united in our commitment to protect and understand." When she finished, the chamber fell silent, the council members exchanging glances filled with curiosity and respect. Finally, the lead member stepped forward, their expression contemplative. "Voss, your team has indeed surprised us. You have demonstrated not only the potential for advanced technological collaboration, but also the capacity for empathy and understanding. This is a remarkable shift from our previous assessments of humanity." Ilara felt a surge of pride. "Thank you. We recognize that our past is filled with mistakes, but we're committed to ensuring that those lessons guide us toward a more enlightened future. We wish to extend our partnership beyond the Vorith, to include all species willing to learn and grow together." The council members murmured among themselves, and Ilara's heart raced as she awaited their response. She could sense the weight of the moment, the potential for a new era of collaboration. "Very well," the lead member finally announced. "We shall draft a new accord, one that fosters unity and cooperation among our races. You will lead this initiative, Dr. Voss. However, it will require the utmost transparency and accountability." "Absolutely," Ilara replied, her voice steady. "We're ready to embrace that responsibility." As the council discussed the details, Ilara felt a sense of purpose wash over her. They were on the brink of something monumental, a chance to reshape the perception of humanity in the galaxy. The discussions continued late into the night, with representatives from various species contributing ideas and perspectives. Days turned into weeks as they worked together to establish the framework for the new accord. Ilara, Xylaf, and their teams collaborated tirelessly, merging their knowledge and expertise to create a comprehensive plan that would guide interspecies cooperation. They named it the Concordance Initiative, a commitment to understanding, protecting, and sharing knowledge across civilizations. Ilara envisioned educational exchanges, joint research projects, and cultural collaborations that would foster deeper connections between species. But with every victory came challenges. Some members of the Galactic Council were resistant to change, clinging to outdated perceptions of humanity. Elara found herself facing skepticism from those who believed that humanity was still too volatile to be trusted. During one tense meeting, a representative from a more militaristic species stood up, their voice dripping with disdain. "You ask us to trust your kind, to open our doors to cooperation. Yet your history is riddled with conflict and destruction. How can we be certain that this is not just another ploy for power?" Elara felt a knot tighten in her stomach, but stood tall. "I understand your concerns. Our history is complex, and we are not proud of every chapter. But we are committed to change, to demonstrating that humanity can learn from its mistakes. The Concordance Initiative is our pledge to work alongside you, to build a future where collaboration triumphs over conflict." The representative scoffed, but Elara pressed on, fueled by the urgency of their mission. "If you allow us to participate, you'll see that we have much to offer: innovation, creativity, and a fresh perspective. We can work together to create a safer and more prosperous galaxy." Slowly, Elara's passion began to resonate. Other representatives echoed her sentiments, sharing their own experiences of overcoming conflict through cooperation. The atmosphere in the room shifted as more voices joined in support of the initiative. Over time, the Concordance Initiative gained momentum, and with it, Elara's confidence grew. They organized a grand assembly, inviting representatives from across the galaxy to celebrate their new alliance. Elara stood at the podium, a sense of fulfillment washing over her as she looked out at the diverse gathering. "Welcome, esteemed members of the Galactic Council and allies," she began, her voice strong and clear. "Today marks a turning point in our shared history. We come together not just as representatives of our respective species, but as a united front for understanding, knowledge, and peace." As she spoke, she felt a wave of support ripple through the crowd. The assembly showcased vibrant displays of art, culture, and technology from various species, illustrating the beauty of their diversity. Elara's heart swelled as she watched children from different planets engage in playful exchanges, laughter echoing throughout the hall. It was a moment that encapsulated the very spirit of the Concordance Initiative, a celebration of unity in diversity. The assembly continued for hours, filled with inspiring speeches, cultural performances, and discussions about future collaborations. But as the day drew to a close, Elara found herself alone, lost in thought. The weight of their mission felt heavier than ever. They had made significant strides, but she couldn't shake the lingering doubts. Would the initiative truly foster lasting change? Would humanity be able to uphold its commitment? That night, Elara found herself staring out at the stars from her quarters, the vastness of space both comforting and intimidating. She thought back to her journey, the trials, the successes, and the transformative power of understanding. In that moment of reflection, she realized that the path ahead would be challenging but also filled with potential. With newfound resolve, Elara returned to her team the next day, ready to tackle the next phase of the initiative. They divided into smaller groups to brainstorm specific projects that could showcase the power of collaboration. Ideas flowed like a river: intergalactic cultural festivals, joint technological advancements, and educational programs aimed at fostering empathy among the young. Weeks turned into months as they executed their plans. Elara found herself traveling to various planets, sharing insights and learning from others. She immersed herself in diverse cultures, forming bonds that transcended species and histories. But just as momentum built, unforeseen challenges arose. A faction within the Galactic Council, still wary of humanity's past, began to organize against the Concordance Initiative. They spread rumors and disinformation, sowing seeds of distrust among member species. Elara and her team worked tirelessly to combat the misinformation, organizing public forums to address concerns and share the successes of their collaborations. They highlighted stories of interspecies friendships and groundbreaking research that had emerged from the initiative. Yet, despite their efforts, the division within the council deepened. Tensions escalated, leading to heated debates and even threats of withdrawal from the initiative by some species. Elara felt the pressure mounting, the very foundation of their work teetering on the brink. In the midst of this turmoil, Elara received an urgent message from Xylath. "Meet me in the observatory," it read. She sensed the urgency in its tone and rushed to the designated location. When she arrived, Xylath was already waiting, its form shimmering with an intensity that hinted at distress. "Dr. Voss, we have received troubling reports. A faction within the Council is planning to sabotage the Concordance Initiative." Alara's stomach dropped. "What do you mean? How can they sabotage it?" "They are planning to use their influence to undermine the key agreements we've established. They aim to disrupt our projects and sow discord among our allies." Panic surged through her, but she forced herself to focus. "We have to act fast. We can't let them dismantle everything we've worked for." Xylath nodded, its colors flickering with determination. "We must unite our allies and present a united front. If we can demonstrate the power of collaboration, we may counter their influence." Alara agreed, and together they devised a plan to rally support from species that had benefited from the initiative. They reached out to allies and coordinated a series of public demonstrations showcasing the successes of their collaborative projects. As the demonstrations began, excitement rippled through the galaxy. Species shared their stories of partnership, showcasing technological advancements and cultural exchanges that had enriched their lives. The events drew large crowds, and Alara felt hope rekindling as they garnered attention. But just as momentum was building, disaster struck. During a live broadcast showcasing a joint project between humans and the Vorith, an attack occurred. A group of extremists infiltrated the event, determined to disrupt and spread chaos. They unleashed destructive technology, targeting the equipment and causing panic. Alara watched in horror as the crowd erupted into chaos. The once celebratory atmosphere turned into a scene of terror. She felt her heart race, adrenaline surging as she rallied her team to restore order. "Stay calm," she shouted, directing people towards safe exits. "We need to contain this." Xylath shifted beside her, its form light the area with a protective shield. "We cannot let fear win. We must unite against this threat." Together, they coordinated the response, ensuring the safety of those in attendance while working to quell the chaos. Alara felt a fire ignite within her, a fierce determination to stand against those who sought to tear apart what they had built. As they fought back against the attackers, she spotted a young child, separated from their family, trembling in fear. Without hesitation, Alara rushed toward them. "Come with me. We'll get you to safety." The child took her hand, and together they navigated the chaos, her heart pounding with the urgency of the moment. She could feel the energy around them, shifting fear mingling with hope as others joined in the effort to protect one another. Once they reached safety, Alara turned back to the chaos, determination etched on her face. "We can't let them win. We have to show everyone that we are stronger together." In the aftermath of the attack, as the dust settled, Alara's resolve only deepened. The extremists had tried to extinguish the light of unity, but instead they had ignited a fire of determination among those who believed in the power of collaboration. As the days turned into weeks, Alara and her allies worked tirelessly to rebuild trust and reinforce their commitment to the Concordance Initiative. They organized healing sessions, allowing species to share their experiences, fears, and hopes. During these sessions, Alara witnessed the strength of the bonds they had formed. Species that once viewed each other with suspicion were now embracing the importance of understanding. Together, they navigated the complexities of their shared existence, learning to celebrate their differences rather than fear them. That would define the future of the Concordance Initiative. Representatives from across the galaxy gathered in a grand assembly hall, a magnificent structure adorned with symbols of unity and diversity. The air buzzed with anticipation and hope as Alara took her place at the podium, looking out at the sea of faces. "Welcome, esteemed delegates," she began, her voice echoing through the hall. "Today, we stand at a crossroads. The challenges we have faced have tested our resolve, but they have also lighted the strength we possess when we come together as one." She could see the determination in their eyes. The recent attack had awakened a fierce commitment to the initiative among many species. The extremists had hoped to drive them apart, but instead they had inadvertently solidified their alliance. "Let us not forget why we are here," Elara continued. "We are united by our shared goal to foster understanding, protect our homes, and learn from one another. Our differences are not barriers, but bridges to greater knowledge and compassion." As she spoke, she highlighted the various projects that had emerged from the Concordance Initiative, showcasing the positive impact they had on countless lives. Holographic displays illustrated cultural exchanges, technological innovations, and collaborative research that had produced remarkable results. The atmosphere in the hall was electric, a palpable sense of purpose radiating from the assembly. One by one, representatives stood to share their experiences, recounting how the initiative had changed their worlds for the better. A Vorith leader spoke passionately about the breakthroughs they had achieved in energy sustainability through their partnership with human scientists. An ambassador from a more reclusive species shared how interspecies educational programs had fostered understanding among their young. But just as the momentum reached its peak, a figure from the back of the hall rose, a member of the faction that had opposed the initiative. The room fell silent as the representative, a tall being with dark, angular features, addressed the assembly. "Dr. Voss, while your words are inspiring, they mask a harsh reality. Trust cannot be built on ideals alone. We have seen the chaos your kind can unleash. The recent attack is a testament to that." A murmur of agreement rippled through the audience, and Elara felt the tension in the air shift. "But we have also shown resilience," she countered, keeping her voice steady. "In the face of adversity, we have united. We are not perfect, but we are committed to change. The Concordance Initiative is not merely about trust. It's about action, collaboration, and a willingness to learn from our past." The representative scoffed, but Elara pressed on. "Every species has a history of conflict. What matters is how we choose to move forward. We can either allow fear to govern our actions or let our shared aspirations guide us." As she spoke, she saw the flicker of recognition in the eyes of some delegates. They were beginning to understand that this was a pivotal moment, one that could shape the future of the galaxy. "We have the opportunity to create a new narrative, one that is not defined by the mistakes of the past, but by our commitment to understanding and collaboration," Elara urged. "Let us not fall into the trap of division. Together, we can demonstrate that cooperation is the key to survival and growth." The room remained tense, but Elara felt the tide beginning to shift. One by one, other representatives rose to speak, echoing her sentiments. They shared stories of how their communities had come together to combat the forces of discord, emphasizing the need to embrace unity in the face of adversity. Finally, a respected elder from a long-established species took the floor. "Dr. Voss is right. Our histories are marred by conflict, but we are here today to rewrite our future. We have seen the light that the Concordance Initiative has sparked. Let us nurture that light and allow it to grow." The assembly erupted in applause, and Elara felt a swell of hope. It was clear that they were turning a corner, ready to embrace the possibility of a united future. The energy in the room shifted from skepticism to determination, and together they forged a renewed commitment to the initiative. As the summit continued, they debated and refined the details of their collaborative projects. New initiatives were proposed, including joint scientific missions to explore uncharted territories, cultural festivals to celebrate their diversity, and educational programs designed to teach empathy from a young age. Days passed as they hammered out the details, and Elara found herself working closely with delegates from different species, building friendships that transcended their differences. They shared meals, exchanged stories, and laughed together, breaking down barriers that had once seemed insurmountable. But amid the excitement, Elara remained vigilant. The faction that opposed them was still lurking in the shadows, seeking any opportunity to undermine the Concordance Initiative. She knew that the road ahead would not be easy. One evening, as the summit reached its conclusion, Elara received an anonymous message warning her of an impending attack aimed at sabotaging their efforts. Heart racing, she immediately convened a meeting with Xylath and their closest allies. "This message could be a ruse to incite panic," Xylath said, its voice steady. But we cannot afford to be complacent. We must prepare for any potential disruption. Alara nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. We need to bolster security at the assembly and ensure that our allies are aware of the potential threat. We can't let fear dictate our actions, but we also cannot ignore the warning. Working through the night, they coordinated with the security teams of the various species, enhancing protective measures around the assembly. Alara's heart ached at the thought of what they had built being threatened, but she refused to let fear overshadow their progress. The next day, the atmosphere in the assembly hall was electric. Representatives arrived with renewed energy, excited to finalize the details of the new initiatives. Alara stood at the podium once again, her heart racing with anticipation. Today, we celebrate our commitment to collaboration and understanding, she began. Let us finalize the details of the Concordance Initiative and embark on this journey together. Cheers erupted from the audience, and Alara felt a wave of hope wash over her. But just as they began to discuss their plans, a loud explosion rocked the building, sending shockwaves through the assembly. Panic erupted as delegates scrambled for safety. Alara's heart raced as she instinctively moved toward Xylath, which had already shifted into a protective stance. "We need to get everyone out," she shouted over the chaos. "Rally our allies and secure the exits." They worked quickly, directing people toward safe zones and ensuring that no one was left behind. As the hall filled with smoke and confusion, Alara remained focused, driven by the determination to protect those around her. Xylath's form shimmered, creating a barrier that shielded them from falling debris. "We must find the source of the attack," it said, its voice resolute. "There may be more dangers lurking." Alara nodded, her instincts kicking in. "Let's gather a team and assess the situation. We can't let fear win." They pushed through the chaos, gathering a small group of allies to investigate the source of the explosion. The halls were filled with debris and cries for help, but they pressed on, determined to find the culprits behind the attack. As they reached the central atrium, they found themselves face to face with a group of extremists, their faces hidden behind masks. The group was attempting to destroy the holographic displays that showcased the Concordance Initiative. "Stop right there," Alara shouted, her heart pounding. "You won't succeed in tearing us apart." The masked leader turned, a menacing grin visible. "We are here to end your pathetic attempts at unity. You think you can erase the past? You are nothing but a blight on the galaxy." Alara felt a surge of anger, but forced herself to remain calm. "This is not the answer. You can't create change through violence. We can work together to address our differences." The leader scoffed. "You think empathy can fix what has been broken? We will show you the truth of your kind's nature." Before she could respond, the group charged at them, weapons drawn. Xylath formed a protective barrier around Alara and their allies, but the extremists pressed forward, determined to cause chaos. "Hold the line," Alara shouted as she rallied her team. "We need to protect the displays and contain the situation." With the energy surging around them, they fought back against the attackers, their determination unwavering. Alara felt the adrenaline coursing through her veins, urging her to protect the very foundation they had built. In the midst of the chaos, she caught a glimpse of a familiar face among the attackers, a former delegate who had opposed the initiative. Her heart sank. This wasn't just an act of violence, it was a betrayal from within. "Why are you doing this?" Alara shouted over the clamor. "You were part of this? You saw the potential for change." The former delegate's expression hardened. "I saw the weakness in your ideals. You will never succeed. This galaxy needs strength, not your empty promises." Determined to reach them, Alara stepped forward, her voice steady. "Strength comes from unity, not division. We can work together to build a future that honors our histories while embracing change. You don't have to do this." For a moment, she saw doubt flicker in their eyes, but before she could seize the opportunity, the chaos surged again. Alara felt a rush of energy as her team pushed back against the attackers, their resolve unwavering. The battle raged on, each side fighting for their vision of the future. Ilara felt the weight of her mission pressing down on her. They had come too far to let this moment define them. With a surge of determination, the beautiful tapestry of life that our galaxy offers, we stand united in our diversity, proving that collaboration can transcend even the darkest of histories. The crowd erupted in cheers, their enthusiasm infectious. Ilara felt a surge of hope as she looked out at the myriad of species gathered together, a living testament to the progress they had made. Colorful stalls showcased art, food, and traditions from different worlds, a celebration of cultural richness that filled the air with vibrancy. But beneath the excitement lay an undercurrent of tension. Ilara remained acutely aware of the threats that lingered, determined not to let fear overshadow the moment. She glanced at Xylath, who had positioned itself near the entrance, its shimmering form a comforting presence. "Stay alert," she whispered, and Xylath nodded, its colors shifting to a deeper hue, signaling readiness. The festivities continued, filled with laughter and joy, as delegates took turns showcasing their traditions. Dance performances mesmerized the audience, and the mingling of languages filled the air with a symphony of voices. Ilara felt a sense of accomplishment. This was what they had fought for, a celebration of unity. As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the festivities, Ilara stepped away from the stage to take a moment for herself. She found a quiet corner, taking a deep breath to soak in the energy of the gathering. But then, the familiar feeling of dread crept back. She couldn't shake the unease that had been building since Xylath's warning. She needed to ensure everything was secure. Just as she was about to return to the main area, a loud commotion erupted near the entrance. Ilara's heart raced as she turned to see a group of masked extremists pushing their way through the crowd, weapons drawn, shouting threats that sliced through the celebratory atmosphere. "Everyone, stay back," Ilara shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. The joy of the festival was instantly replaced by fear, faces turning pale as the reality of the situation set in. Xylath moved swiftly, forming a protective barrier around Ilara and several nearby delegates. "We must contain this," it urged, its voice steady despite the panic surrounding them. Ilara felt her adrenaline spike. "Gather our allies, we can't let them disrupt this moment." With determination, she rushed back toward the main stage, rallying her allies as they moved to confront the intruders. The crowd scattered in fear, but a core group of delegates stood firm, ready to defend what they had built. "Do not let them divide us," Ilara shouted, her voice rising above the chaos. "We stand together, united." The extremists advanced, their leader brandishing a weapon, eyes filled with rage. "You think you can erase our pain? We will show you the consequences of your misguided ideals." Ilara felt a mixture of fear and anger boil within her. "This isn't the way. You can't fight hatred with more hatred." The leader laughed mockingly. "You think your words mean anything? Look at the fear you've created." But Ilara refused to back down. "Fear will not define us. We choose to stand against violence, together." With that, she signaled to her allies, and they moved into formation. Xylath projected a shimmering shield to protect them, while others prepared non-lethal defenses, determined to subdue the extremists without further bloodshed. As the masked attackers charged, the coalition held their ground, ready to protect not just the festival, but the very ideals they had fought for. Ilara felt a surge of resolve. They would not allow the extremists to succeed. The clash erupted, a whirlwind of energy and determination as the two sides collided. Ilara fought fiercely alongside her allies, each movement a testament to the strength of unity. The extremists were taken aback by the sheer determination of the coalition, their numbers dwindling as the delegates fought back with precision. "Remember why we're here," Ilara shouted, rallying her team as they pressed forward. "This is about more than just today, it's about our future." Suddenly, the leader of the extremists broke through their lines, charging toward Ilara. "You're the problem," they shouted, rage spilling from their lips. "You think you can change the galaxy with your empty words?" Ilara stood her ground, adrenaline surging through her. "I believe in our ability to learn, to grow, and to create something better." Violence will only perpetuate the cycle. The leader hesitated, their fury mingling with uncertainty. You can't change the past. You're naive. No, Alara replied, her voice steady. I'm hopeful. I believe we can create a new narrative, one that embraces our shared humanity. The leader's eyes flickered with doubt, and in that moment, Alara seized the opportunity. Join us. Choose to stand with us in creating a future of understanding instead of fear. But before she could reach them further, one of the extremists threw a projectile, hitting Xylath's shield. The energy crackled, but it held strong, protecting Alara and her allies. The explosion sent debris flying, and chaos erupted anew as fear took hold of the remaining crowd. Stay together, Alara called out, her heart racing as she struggled to maintain order amidst the chaos. We can't let fear divide us. As the extremists regrouped, the coalition pressed forward, driven by the shared conviction that they would not back down. Alara felt a sense of urgency. This was not just a fight for their present, but for the future they envisioned. Push them back, she shouted, rallying her allies. They surged forward, unified in their determination to protect the festival and each other. The extremists, realizing they were losing ground, began to retreat, their leader screaming in frustration. This isn't over, Voss. We will return, and you will pay for this. As they disappeared into the shadows, Alara felt a mixture of relief and frustration. The immediate threat had been averted, but the seeds of discord still lingered. Everyone okay? She called out, scanning the faces of her allies. There were bruises and scratches, but the determination in their eyes reassured her. We're fine, Xylath replied, its colors shifting to a calmer hue. But we need to regroup and address the damage done here. As the remaining delegates came together, Alara took a moment to collect her thoughts. We faced a formidable threat today, but we stood strong together. We must remind everyone that we are united, not just in celebration but in resolve. This attack will not deter us. The crowd, shaken but resolute, nodded in agreement. Together, they began to clean up the remnants of the chaos, determined to reclaim the spirit of the festival. In the following days, Alara and her allies worked tirelessly to heal the wounds inflicted by the extremists. They organized community gatherings, inviting representatives from various species to share their experiences and reinforce the bonds forged through collaboration. We will not let fear define us, Alara told the gathered delegates. We will use this moment to strengthen our commitment to unity, to understanding, and to growth. Together, we can create a legacy that outlasts any act of violence. As the weeks went by, the support for the Concordance Initiative grew. More species joined the coalition, eager to be part of something greater than themselves. Alara felt a sense of hope rising within her. They were creating a movement that could reshape the future. But the extremists were not done. Reports of their regrouping filtered through the networks, and Alara knew that the fight for unity would be ongoing. They had managed to rally the galaxy around their vision, but she understood that the path forward would be fraught with challenges. One evening, as Alara sat in her quarters reviewing plans for a summit to discuss further initiatives, Xylath appeared, its form flickering with urgency. Dr. Voss, we have received intelligence that the extremist faction is planning an attack on the next summit. They aim to disrupt our momentum. Alara's heart sank. We need to strengthen our security protocols and inform our allies. We can't let them derail what we've built. Together, they convened a meeting with the coalition's leaders, outlining the threat and discussing strategies to safeguard the upcoming summit. They agreed to implement heightened security measures, but Alara also felt it was crucial to confront the narrative head-on. We cannot allow fear to dictate our actions, she emphasized during the meeting. We need to continue showcasing our commitment to unity. Let's amplify our message of resilience. The leaders nodded, determination shining in their eyes. We will stand firm, one delegate said. We will not let them succeed in sowing discord. As the summit approached, Alara felt the weight of the challenge before them. The extremists had proven they were willing to resort to violence to push their agenda, but she also felt a growing strength in her coalition, a shared resolve to combat the forces that sought to divide them. On the day of the summit, the atmosphere was tense yet charged with hope. Delegates from across the galaxy arrived, their faces a tapestry of anticipation and concern. Ilara greeted each representative, emphasizing the importance of their unity in the face of adversity. As the summit commenced, she took to the stage, her heart pounding with purpose. Welcome, everyone. Today, we gather not just to discuss our initiatives, but to stand together against those who wish to see us divided. The audience erupted in applause, and Ilara felt the energy surge through the room. We have faced challenges before, but we have emerged stronger each time. Together, we can create a future where our differences are celebrated, not weaponized. As the discussions progressed, Ilara remained vigilant, scanning the room for any signs of unrest. From interspecies education initiatives to shared technological advancements, the air electric with the promise of collaboration, Ilara was heartened by the participation. Delegates passionately shared ideas and experiences, reinforcing the message that unity was not just an ideal, it was an achievable reality. But as the summit progressed, Ilara couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The tension in the air was palpable, and whispers of dissent floated through the crowd. It was evident that the extremists had not simply retreated into the shadows. They were planning something more insidious. Dr. Voss, a fellow delegate, whispered, leaning closer, "There are reports of suspicious activity near the perimeter. We need to tighten security immediately." Ilara nodded, her heart racing. "Alert Xylath and the security teams. We need to ensure the safety of everyone here." Just as she spoke, an alarm blared through the hall, cutting through the discussions. The lights flickered, and the atmosphere shifted from hopeful anticipation to sheer panic in an instant. Delegates jumped to their feet, eyes wide with fear. "Stay calm," Ilara shouted, her voice striving to reach above the chaos. "We will get through this together." But her words fell on deaf ears as panic swept through the crowd. Xylath immediately projected a protective barrier around the stage, its energy shimmering like a beacon of hope amidst the turmoil. "Xylath, can you scan for the source of the disturbance?" Ilara asked, her heart pounding in her chest. "Scanning now," Xylath replied, its form glowing brighter as it worked. "There are multiple signatures approaching the perimeter. They match known extremist profiles." Ilara's stomach dropped. "We have to evacuate the delegates and prepare for an attack. Everyone, listen to me." She raised her voice again, trying to quell the rising fear. "We need to move to the secure chambers. Follow my lead." As the coalition leaders began to organize a retreat, Ilara felt a surge of determination. This was not how it was supposed to end. They had fought so hard for unity, and she refused to let it crumble in the face of violence. "Xylath, can you reinforce the barriers around the exits?" she asked, urgency lacing her words. "Affirmative," Xylath responded, its energy pulsing with intensity. "I will create a perimeter to guide the delegates safely." With Xylath's help, Ilara directed delegates toward the designated secure areas. As they moved, she kept an eye on the entrances, aware that the extremists were likely already inside the building. "Stay close together," Ilara shouted, leading the group through the corridors. The atmosphere was tense, and she could hear distant shouts and sounds of chaos echoing behind them. Fear surged through her, but she pushed it down, focusing on keeping everyone safe. As they reached the secure chamber, Ilara turned to the leaders. "We need to barricade the doors and prepare to defend ourselves if necessary." The delegates quickly moved into action, pushing heavy furniture against the doors. Ilara felt a wave of gratitude for their resolve. They were not backing down. "Xylath, can you create an emergency comm channel?" she asked, turning to her ally. "We need to alert the rest of the security teams and coordinate a response." "Creating the channel now," Xylath replied, its form shimmering as it worked. "We will communicate with the outer security units to ensure they are aware of the situation." As they secured the room, Ilara felt a moment of calm wash over her. They were safe for the moment, but she knew they couldn't hide forever. The extremists would come for them, and they had to be prepared. "Listen up," Ilara called out, gathering the attention of the delegates. "We cannot let fear take control. We've come too far to let this moment define us. We stand for unity, understanding, and collaboration. We will defend our ideals." The delegates nodded, their faces a mixture of fear and determination. They had all faced adversity before. This was just another challenge that tested their resolve. "Xylath, what's the status outside?" Ilara asked, her pulse quickening as she sensed the urgency of the moment. "Multiple hostile units are approaching. They appear to be attempting to breach the building," Xylath reported, its voice steady despite the impending danger. "I will maintain the barriers for as long as possible." "Good. We need to be ready," Ilara said, her mind racing with possibilities. They couldn't simply wait for help. They needed to show that they were united and strong. "Prepare defensive measures," she ordered. "We may need to defend ourselves if they break through." The delegates began to gather whatever they could find: chairs, tables, anything that could serve as a barrier or a weapon. Ilara helped organize them, her heart racing as she sensed the impending confrontation. "Remember, we fight not just for ourselves, but for the future we believe in," she reminded them. "This is our chance to prove that unity can prevail over violence." Suddenly, the doors began to shake, and a loud crash reverberated through the chamber. The extremists were trying to force their way in, and Ilara felt her resolve harden. "Everyone, brace yourselves," she shouted, adrenaline coursing through her veins. The sound of shouts and chaos grew louder, drowning out her words. "Xylath, can you reinforce the doors?" she asked urgently. "Deploying additional energy," Xylath replied, its form pulsing as it projected a shield toward the door. The extremists outside began to yell, their voices filled with fury. "You think you can hide from us? We will bring you down." Ilara steeled herself, gripping a makeshift weapon, a heavy chair leg ready to defend her allies. "Stay strong," she called out. "We are united, and we will not be defeated." With a sudden, forceful crash, the doors gave way, and a group of masked extremists surged into the room. Ilara's heart raced as she raised her weapon, ready to fight back. But just as she did, Xylath expanded its barrier, enveloping the delegates in a protective shield. "Stay behind me," Xylath commanded, its energy flaring brightly. "I will hold them back." Ilara felt a wave of gratitude for Xylath's unwavering support. The extremists hesitated, momentarily taken aback by the barrier. This was their chance. "Now, push forward," Ilara shouted, rallying her allies. They surged together, united in purpose, determined to stand against the onslaught. As they charged, Ilara felt a surge of adrenaline. They were not just fighting for their own safety. They were fighting for their future, for the ideals they had forged through collaboration and understanding. The extremists roared in anger as they regrouped, trying to breach Xylath's barrier. But the coalition fought back fiercely, using their combined strength to push the intruders back. Ilara moved with purpose, striking at the extremists with her makeshift weapon, fueled by the belief that they could prevail. But the extremists were relentless. They fought with desperation, their fury turning into chaos as they clashed with the united front of the delegates. Ilara could see the fear in her allies' eyes, but she also saw determination and unwavering resolve to stand firm against the tide of hatred. "Together, we can do this," she shouted, urging them forward. The delegates rallied, their combined strength creating a wave of energy that pushed the extremists back. Just when it seemed they were gaining the upper hand, the leader of the extremists burst through the fray, eyes wild with fury. "You think this will end here, Voss? We will never allow your misguided dreams to succeed." Ilara met their gaze, her heart racing. "Your anger won't change the truth. Unity is stronger than hatred." The leader laughed, a hollow sound. "We'll see about that." In a moment of desperation, the leader activated a device at their side, a flash of energy igniting the air around them. Ilara's heart sank as she realized what was happening, a last-ditch effort to create chaos and destruction. "No!" she shouted, rushing forward, but it was too late. The device erupted, sending a shockwave through the room. The energy slammed into the barrier, causing it to flicker and shimmer precariously. "Hold it together," Xylath shouted, struggling to maintain the protective shield. Alara felt the force of the explosion throw her backward, pain shooting through her body. Dazed, she scrambled to her feet, heart pounding. The room was filled with chaos as delegates were thrown against walls, and the air crackled with energy. "Xylath," Alara cried, pushing through the confusion to reach her ally. "We have to." But Xylath was struggling, its form flickering dangerously. "I cannot hold the barrier much longer. They are overwhelming us." Alara felt a surge of desperation. "Then we need to counter their chaos with our own unity. Everyone, regroup. We stand together." With newfound determination, Alara rallied her allies. They gathered around Xylath, creating a circle of support. "We won't let fear tear us apart," she shouted. "Together, we can overcome this." As they formed the circle, energy surged between them, an electric connection igniting hope and strength. Xylath absorbed the combined energy, its form glowing brighter, reinforcing the barrier. The leader of the extremists, witnessing the shift, howled in rage. "You think this will save you? You are fools." Alara met their gaze, unwavering. "No, we are united, and we will not back down." Energy into a powerful wave that resonated through the room. Alara felt a warmth spread from her heart to the edges of the circle, a pulsing rhythm of hope and determination. They were not just individuals, they were a collective force, embodying the ideals they fought for. As the wave of energy surged, it collided with the extremist leader's device, creating a blinding flash of light. The shockwave rippled through the chamber, sending both groups stumbling back. Alara squeezed her eyes shut against the brightness, but when she opened them, the scene had changed. The extremist leader lay sprawled on the floor, their device shattered into fragments around them. The remaining extremists, realizing the tide had turned, began to retreat, fear etching their faces as they scrambled for the exits. The coalition, emboldened by their collective strength, pressed forward, ready to ensure the threat was fully neutralized. "Don't let them escape," Alara shouted, leading the charge toward the retreating figures. She could feel adrenaline pumping through her veins, fueling her every movement. Xylath's energy flared, creating a barrier that trapped a group of extremists near the back of the chamber. "They cannot escape," it declared, its voice firm and unwavering. "We will not let hatred prevail." As the coalition closed in, Alara felt a sense of urgency. They had to confront this threat not only with strength, but with compassion. "Hold them, but let's not harm them unnecessarily," she called out. The delegates, inspired by Alara's words, positioned themselves strategically, ready to subdue but not to injure. The room was filled with shouts and the clatter of chaos, but beneath it all was a current of unity that surged stronger than the violence they faced. "Why are you doing this?" Alara confronted the leader, who was now surrounded by a few of her allies. "Do you not see the strength in unity? The power of understanding?" The leader glared up at her, rage and confusion swirling in their eyes. "You think your words can change anything? You are naive. The galaxy is built on conflict, and you cannot erase that with your dreams." Alara knelt beside the leader, trying to see beyond the mask of hatred. "What if we could? What if we could build something better? We can learn from our past and create a future where we don't have to live in fear." For a moment, the leader's expression faltered, uncertainty flickering in their eyes. "You don't understand the pain we've endured. You haven't lived through the horrors we have." "I know pain," Alara replied, her voice softening. "We all do. But we cannot let it define us. Let it drive us toward healing instead of violence. Join us. Help us create something better." The leader's brow furrowed, caught between anger and confusion. "You think I can just change? You think it's that easy?" "No, I don't," Alara admitted, her heart aching for the person before her. "But it's a choice, and every choice we make can lead us toward a better future. We can either continue the cycle of hate or break it together." As the extremists surrendered, the tension in the room began to dissipate. Ilara turned to her allies. We need to ensure they are held accountable, but we must also show them a path toward understanding. Are you suggesting we offer them a chance? One of the delegates asked, skepticism evident in their voice. Yes, Ilara affirmed. We've fought for unity, for collaboration. Let's extend that to them. We have to show them that there is another way. The delegates exchanged uncertain glances, but Xylath stepped forward, its form shimmering with a calm light. Dr. Voss is correct. To truly embody the ideals we advocate, we must demonstrate compassion, even in the face of violence. This is our opportunity to break the cycle. The coalition leaders nodded, their expressions shifting from skepticism to determination. They understood the weight of Ilara's words and the opportunity they had to redefine the narrative. All right, one delegate said, stepping forward. Let's establish a council to address their grievances. We can't ignore the pain they carry, but we can guide them toward healing. As they secured the extremists, Ilara felt a sense of relief mingled with resolve. They had faced violence, but they had also discovered a deeper purpose, to foster understanding even among those who sought to harm them. Over the following days, they worked tirelessly to establish the council, inviting the captured extremists to participate in discussions about their experiences and grievances. Ilara sat with them, heart open, ready to listen to their stories. The initial meetings were fraught with tension. The extremists were hesitant, distrustful of the coalition that had subdued them. Yet Ilara and her allies remained patient, fostering an environment of openness. What do you hope to achieve by meeting with us? The leader asked during one session, their voice laced with skepticism. You think we'll just abandon our beliefs because you speak nicely? Ilara took a deep breath, choosing her words carefully. We're here because we believe in the power of dialogue. We want to understand your pain and work together to find solutions. This isn't about abandoning beliefs, it's about evolving them. The leader glared at her, but seemed momentarily caught off guard. You really think you can change us? It's not about changing you, Ilara replied. It's about finding common ground. We all want a future where we don't have to live in fear. Together, we can forge a path toward that future. As the days turned into weeks, the council began to make progress. Slowly, the extremists began to open up, sharing their experiences, their fears, and their anger. The dialogue was challenging, filled with moments of anger and tears, but it was also filled with the promise of healing. Ilara felt a sense of purpose that deepened with each session. The more they talked, the more she realized that the roots of conflict often lay in misunderstanding and unaddressed pain. One day, after a particularly intense session, the leader of the extremists approached Ilara. I don't know if I can believe in your vision, they admitted, vulnerability creeping into their voice. But I want to try. I want to see if there's something beyond the anger. Ilara smiled gently. That's a start. Healing takes time, but every step counts. Let's continue this journey together. The coalition began to grow, drawing in more representatives and allies who were eager to support the initiative. They organized community forums, inviting individuals from various backgrounds to share their stories and learn from one another. As the movement gained momentum, Alea felt hope blossom. The festival that had once been disrupted became a symbol of resilience, with a new emphasis on collaboration and understanding. They expanded the celebrations to include discussions on healing, art showcasing diverse cultures, and workshops aimed at fostering dialogue. The galaxy began to take notice. News of the coalition's efforts spread, inspiring similar initiatives on other planets. Species that had once been divided began to reach out, eager to learn from the example set by Ilara and her allies. But as they made progress, the extremist faction was not entirely subdued. A splinter group emerged, rejecting the council's path and resorting to more violent measures. Ilara received reports of attacks on communities that embraced the coalition's ideals, and the shadow of fear loomed again. Xylath, we need to address this new threat, Ilara said urgently during a meeting with her allies. We can't let the violence escalate. We've come too far. I agree, Xylath replied. its colors shifting to a deeper hue. We must show strength while maintaining our principles. It's essential to confront violence with resolve, but we must avoid becoming what we oppose. Alara nodded, feeling the weight of their shared responsibility. Let's organize a series of public forums to reaffirm our commitment to peace. We need to showcase our unity and resilience, countering the fear with hope. As they organized the forums, Alara reached out to various communities, urging them to stand together against the rising tide of hatred. The response was overwhelming. Delegates, allies, and citizens rallied behind the message of unity, determined to show that love and understanding would prevail. On the day of the first forum, a palpable energy filled the air. Delegates from various planets gathered, and the atmosphere buzzed with anticipation. Alara stood at the front, heart racing as she prepared to address the crowd. Today, we gather not just to celebrate our differences, but to reaffirm our commitment to each other, she began, her voice steady. We have faced violence, fear, and division, but we refuse to let those experiences define us. Together, we stand as a testament to the power of unity. The crowd erupted in applause, and Alara felt a surge of hope wash over her. Let us show the galaxy that compassion is stronger than hatred. Let us build a future where understanding triumphs over fear. As the forum unfolded, stories of resilience and healing emerged from all corners of the galaxy. The coalition's message resonated deeply, igniting a spark of hope in the hearts of many. But even as they celebrated their progress, the splinter group's threats loomed large. They organized attacks on the gatherings, seeking to sow discord and instill fear in those who dared to embrace the coalition's ideals. One night, as Alara prepared for a major forum, she received a frantic call from one of her allies. "Alara, they're planning an attack tonight. We need to evacuate the venue." Heart racing, Alara sprang into action. "Secure the area. We'll create a defensive perimeter. We won't let them disrupt this gathering." The urgency of the situation settled over her. Alara felt the familiar mix of fear and determination rise within her. She rallied her allies, organizing a swift evacuation of the delegates while Xylath projected barriers around the venue to shield them from potential harm. "Xylath, can you reinforce the barriers and create a diversion?" Alara instructed, her mind racing as she strategized. "We need to protect the delegates and give everyone a chance to escape safely." Deploying additional energy to the perimeter, Xylath responded, its form pulsing with light. "I will also create a holographic decoy to draw their attention away from the main group." Alara watched as Xylath activated the decoy, a shimmering figure that moved away from the venue, diverting the splinter group's focus. "Thank you, Xylath," she said, heartened by their unwavering support. The chaos intensified as shouts echoed through the corridors. The extremists were drawing closer, their determination palpable. Alara quickly directed the delegates toward the emergency exits, her heart pounding as she counted heads, ensuring no one was left behind. "Keep moving, stay close," she urged, her voice steady despite the chaos. "We will get through this together." As they navigated the narrow hallways, Alara's thoughts raced. They had fought so hard for unity, and she refused to let fear shatter their progress. "We've faced worse than this," she reminded herself, channeling her resolve into every step. The group finally reached the rear exit, and Alara paused, scanning the area. "Xylath, can you give us a status update on the extremists?" she asked, anxiety creeping into her voice. "Multiple signatures are approaching, but they seem distracted by the decoy," Xylath replied, its energy flickering in anticipation. "We have a small window of opportunity." "Let's move," Alara commanded, ushering everyone out into the cool night air. The stars twinkled overhead, a stark contrast to the turmoil below. As they stepped outside, Alara turned to face the crowd, her heart racing. "We need to regroup and create a defensive line. We're stronger together." Delegates quickly formed a perimeter, ready to protect their allies. Alara could see fear etched on their faces, but beneath it lay a fierce determination. They were united, ready to stand against the encroaching darkness. Suddenly, shouts erupted from the direction of the main venue. The extremists had realized the decoy was a ruse and were scrambling toward them, fury etched across their faces. Elara's stomach dropped, but she steeled herself, raising her weapon. "Stand firm. We will not be intimidated," she shouted, her voice ringing with authority. "Remember why we're here. We fight for unity and peace." Xylath flared its energy, creating a shimmering barrier between them and the extremists. "Prepare yourselves," it cautioned, its voice steady despite the approaching danger. The first wave of extremists surged forward, brandishing makeshift weapons. Elara's heart raced as she stood shoulder to shoulder with her allies, ready to defend their ideals. "Together," she cried, her voice a rallying call. As the extremists reached the barrier, a forceful collision sent shockwaves through the air. The barrier shimmered and flickered, but Xylath held firm, its energy pulsating in defiance. "Hold the line," Elara shouted, her grip tightening on her weapon. She could see the anger in the eyes of the extremists, but she also saw the fear in her own allies. "We can't let them break through. We are stronger than their hatred." As the extremists began to pound against the barrier, Elara felt the energy shifting. Xylath's form flickered as it strained to maintain the shield. "I can hold for a short time, but the energy is depleting," Xylath warned. "Then we need to act now," Elara shouted, her heart pounding. "We'll push them back together." With a fierce cry, she led the charge, her allies following her lead. They surged forward, united in purpose, ready to confront the extremists head-on. The barrier flickered, and as it did, Elara sensed a shift in the atmosphere. They were not just fighting against violence. They were fighting for their vision of a better future. "On my count, 1, 2, 3, Elara shouted, and they pushed through the barrier as it flickered, confronting the extremists with determination. The collision was electric. Elara felt the force of anger and fear crashing against the resolve of her allies. They moved as one, a wave of unity pushing against the chaos. Elara struck out at the nearest extremist, her heart racing as she fought not just for survival, but for the ideals they had forged together. The extremists were taken aback, momentarily stunned by the resilience of the coalition. They had expected fear and division, but instead, they faced a united front determined to protect their vision. "Don't let them overwhelm us," Elara shouted, rallying her allies. "We stand for something greater than ourselves." As the battle raged on, Elara's breath came in quick gasps. She ducked and weaved, her focus unwavering. Each strike she made was fueled by the belief that they could create change, that they could transcend the cycle of violence. Xylath's energy surged, reinforcing the perimeter even as it flickered. "We must counter their chaos with our unity," it urged, its voice filled with determination. With renewed strength, Elara rallied her allies once more. "Remember why we fight. We can break this cycle, together." As the extremists began to falter, doubt creeping into their ranks, Elara seized the moment. "Now, push them back," she commanded, and the coalition surged forward, channeling their collective strength into a powerful wave of resistance. The extremists, overwhelmed by the resilience and determination of the coalition, began to retreat. Shouts of anger filled the air, but Elara could see the fear in their eyes as they realized their tactics were failing. "We can't let them escape," one of her allies shouted, but Elara raised her hand, feeling a surge of compassion. "No," she said firmly. "Let's show them that violence is not the answer. We'll give them a chance to change." As the last of the extremists fled, Elara stood among her allies, heart racing. They had faced violence head-on, but they had also chosen a path of compassion. They would not become what they opposed. "We need to secure the area and check for injuries," Elara instructed, her voice steady. "We must ensure everyone is safe." As they began to regroup, Elara felt a wave of exhaustion wash over her. They had fought hard, but the battle was far from over. The splinter group remained a threat, and she knew they had to continue their efforts to foster understanding. In the following weeks, they redoubled their commitment to dialogue and healing. Ilara organized community gatherings, inviting representatives from both the coalition and the splinter group to share their experiences and grievances. We cannot ignore the pain and fear that led them to violence, she reminded her allies. But we must also show them that there is another way, a way built on understanding and collaboration. As the forums continued, Ilara noticed a shift. The extremists began to engage more openly, sharing their fears and frustrations. They were hesitant, but there was a glimmer of hope in their eyes. Ilara could see that they were beginning to understand the power of unity. One evening, as they wrapped up a particularly intense discussion, the leader of the splinter group approached Ilara. "I don't agree with everything you stand for," they admitted, their voice low. "But I'm starting to see that you might have a point. We can't keep living in fear." Ilara felt a surge of hope. "It's a start," she replied gently. "Healing takes time, but together we can find a better path." As the coalition continued to grow, news of their efforts spread throughout the galaxy. Other planets began to reach out, eager to learn from their example. Ilara felt a sense of purpose surge within her. They were creating a movement that transcended their immediate challenges. But even amidst the progress, the splinter group's threats continued. They launched sporadic attacks, seeking to undermine the coalition's efforts. Each incident ignited fear, but Ilara and her allies remained resolute, using those moments to strengthen their message of unity. "We will not be swayed by violence," Ilara declared during one gathering. "We will respond with understanding and compassion. Together, we will rise above this." As the movement gained momentum, they began to establish intergalactic networks, connecting with other species and sharing their stories of resilience. The message of unity echoed across the stars, inspiring hope and dialogue in places that had once been mired in conflict. One evening, as Ilara gazed at the stars, she felt a sense of purpose envelop her. They had faced immense challenges, but they had also created a movement that offered hope in the face of adversity. The galaxy was beginning to change. "Xylath, what's our status?" she asked, her heart full of hope. "Are we making a difference?" "Indeed," Xylath replied, its form glowing with energy. "The networks are expanding, and more planets are expressing interest in joining the coalition. Your message of unity is resonating across the galaxy." Ilara smiled, feeling the warmth of hope wash over her. "Let's continue to push forward. We have a responsibility to show others the power of understanding." As they prepared for the next gathering, Ilara felt a sense of excitement mingled with trepidation. Had begun to regroup, and rumors of a larger, coordinated attack had started to surface. It was a reminder that their struggle for unity was far from over. Ilara understood that while progress had been made, the threat of violence still loomed large. The day of the next gathering arrived, and Ilara stood in front of a crowd that had grown even larger than before. The atmosphere was electric with anticipation, a mix of hope and fear. She took a deep breath, grounding herself in the belief that they were building something greater than themselves. "Welcome, everyone," she began, her voice steady. "Today, we gather not just to celebrate our progress, but to reaffirm our commitment to a future built on understanding. We've faced challenges, but we've also discovered the strength that lies in unity." As she spoke, Ilara scanned the crowd, taking note of the diversity before her species from different planets, cultures represented in their colorful attire, and expressions filled with both determination and uncertainty. They were all here for one reason: to build a better future. "However," she continued, "we must also acknowledge the realities of the threats we face. The splinter group that seeks to divide us has been escalating their attacks. We cannot allow fear to dictate our actions. Instead, we must respond with resilience and compassion." The crowd murmured, and Ilara could feel the weight of their anxiety. "I know it's difficult to stand firm in the face of violence, but we have each other. We are stronger together, and we must remind ourselves that love and understanding can triumph over hatred." As she spoke, she felt Xylath's energy pulse beside her, a silent reminder of their bond and shared mission. "Let's invite voices from both sides to speak today," Ilara suggested. hoping to inspire dialogue even among those who still harbored resentment. She gestured to the leaders of the splinter group, who had reluctantly agreed to attend. The tension in the air was palpable as they stepped forward, eyes wary yet curious. "We must hear each other's stories," she said gently. "Understanding begins with listening." One of the splinter leaders, a tall figure with piercing eyes, stepped forward. "You speak of unity, but what about our pain?" they challenged, their voice steady but tinged with bitterness. "You cannot ignore the injustices that led us here." Alara nodded, fully aware of the weight of their words. "I don't intend to dismiss your pain. It is real and valid. But let's work together to address those injustices. We can't erase the past, but we can learn from it and create a new future." The leader's gaze softened slightly, and for a moment, Alara felt a flicker of connection. "You say that, but our experiences are not so easily forgotten." "No, they aren't," Alara agreed. "But we have the power to rewrite our story. We can choose to build bridges instead of walls." The dialogue continued, shifting from hostility to a shared exploration of their experiences. Each speaker brought their own narrative, weaving together a tapestry of pain and hope. As the sun set, casting a warm glow over the gathering, Alara could sense the walls slowly beginning to crumble. Yet, in the shadows, the splinter group lurked, their anger simmering. Alara could feel the tension in the air, a reminder that not everyone shared their vision of unity. As the gathering came to a close, a sense of foreboding settled over her. That night, Alara couldn't sleep. The weight of uncertainty pressed on her heart. She felt a deep responsibility to protect not only her allies, but also the vision they had fought so hard to create. What if the extremists struck again? What if their fragile progress was shattered? Determined to take action, she called an emergency meeting with her closest allies in Xylath. They gathered in the safe house, a stark contrast to the vibrant energy of the gathering just hours before. "We need a plan," Alara said, pacing the room. "The splinter group won't sit idle while we foster understanding. We have to prepare for whatever they may attempt next." Xylath nodded, its form flickering with intensity. "We must reinforce our defenses and ensure that our gatherings remain safe spaces for dialogue. However, we cannot allow fear to dictate our actions." One of the delegates, a stoic figure from a neighboring planet, spoke up. "We need to show our strength publicly. Perhaps a demonstration of solidarity, a gathering to reaffirm our commitment to peace." Alara considered this. "That could work. If we showcase our unity, it might deter any potential attacks and inspire others to join our cause." With a newfound sense of purpose, they began to organize the demonstration. They envisioned a grand event, inviting representatives from all walks of life to come together in celebration of their shared commitment to peace. The message was clear: they would not be divided. As the day of the demonstration approached, excitement mingled with tension. Alara felt the weight of their mission heavy on her shoulders. She could see the splinter group's anger reflected in the eyes of her allies, but she was determined to stay the course. On the day of the event, the square was alive with energy. Banners flew, and the air hummed with anticipation. Alara stood at the forefront, flanked by Xylath and the other delegates, their hearts united in purpose. "Today, we stand together," Alara began, her voice ringing through the crowd. "We stand for understanding, for healing, and for a future where compassion triumphs over hatred. Together, we can create change." As she spoke, the crowd erupted in applause. The energy was palpable, and for a moment, Alara felt invincible. This was what they had fought for, a united front against the darkness. But as the speeches continued, a sudden chill swept through the crowd. Alara felt it before she saw it, the unmistakable tension in the air. Then came the shouts. "Get down!" Xylath's voice boomed, and in an instant, the crowd erupted into chaos. Alara ducked as figures clad in dark attire burst onto the scene, brandishing weapons and shouting slogans of division. Panic erupted as people scrambled for cover. Ilara's heart raced, adrenaline surging through her. "Stay together," she shouted, trying to rally her allies. We can't let them break our unity. Xylath projected a barrier, shielding the crowd from the initial wave of attacks. I will hold them back, but we must evacuate the area, it urged, its form shimmering with power. Cover the exits, Elara commanded, her mind racing as she formulated a plan. We can't let them separate us. She turned to face the approaching extremists, her resolve hardening. We will not be intimidated. We stand for peace. As the extremists surged forward, Elara felt a surge of courage. She knew this was a test of everything they had worked for. Prepare to defend yourselves. We fight for our future. The extremists lunged, and chaos erupted. Elara fought alongside her allies, each movement fueled by the belief that they were not just defending their lives, but the very ideals they held dear. Xylath's energy crackled as it pushed against the extremists, creating barriers and shielding those who were vulnerable. We must protect the message of unity, it called, its voice a beacon of hope amidst the chaos. Elara focused on the extremists, her heart pounding as she navigated the fray. Remember our purpose, she shouted, trying to instill courage in her allies. We're fighting for a future free from fear. As the battle raged on, Elara noticed a group of her allies struggling against an extremist who had broken through their defenses. Without a second thought, she charged forward, determination fueling her every step. Get away from them, she shouted, her voice fierce as she confronted the attacker. The figure turned, eyes filled with rage, but Elara stood her ground. You won't win this fight. In that moment, she felt a surge of energy from Xylath, who seemed to amplify her resolve. With a swift movement, she engaged the extremist, channeling her training and the hope of her allies into every strike. As they battled, Elara could feel the tide beginning to shift. The extremists were outnumbered, and the spirit of unity was palpable among her allies. They fought not just against their attackers, but for a shared vision of peace. With one final push, Elara disarmed her opponent, sending the weapon clattering to the ground. She stood over the extremist, breathing heavily, and in that moment, she saw the fear in their eyes. Why? The extremist gasped, their anger fading into vulnerability. Why do you fight for us? We've only brought you pain. Elara's heart softened. Because I believe in the possibility of change. Because we can all choose to heal instead of hurt. You can choose a different path. Before the extremist could respond, Xylath surged forward, creating a barrier around them. We must contain the situation, it said, its voice steady, but we cannot allow hatred to define our actions. As the extremists retreated, Elara felt a mix of exhaustion and hope. They had faced violence, but they had also demonstrated the power of unity. The crowd began to gather again, breathing heavily but resolute. Together, we stood firm, Elara said, addressing her allies. Today, we showed that love and understanding can withstand even the fiercest of storms. Cheers erupted from the crowd, and Elara felt a renewed sense of purpose. They would continue to fight for their vision, no matter the challenges ahead. Community meetings to debrief and share their experiences. The energy was a mix of resilience and determination, as they transformed the chaos of the attack into a catalyst for deeper understanding and cooperation. Elara led the discussions, guiding her allies through their emotions. We can't ignore what happened, she said one evening, her voice steady, but we must use it to strengthen our resolve. We need to focus on healing, not just within our community, but with those who oppose us. Xylath stood beside her, its energy flickering softly. This is an opportunity to reach out. We can invite members of the splinter group to participate in the healing process. Dialogue is essential. The idea sparked hesitation among some delegates. But what if they just come to attack us again? One of them asked, uncertainty etched on their face. Then we'll stand together, Elara replied firmly. We've shown we can defend ourselves, but let's also show we can extend a hand. We can't break the cycle of violence if we don't engage. After much discussion, they decided to host a series of forums specifically inviting the splinter group. It was a daunting prospect, but Elara believed that if they truly wanted to create change, They had to be willing to engage with their adversaries. The first forum was set for 2 weeks later. As the date approached, Alara felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. She worked tirelessly with her allies, preparing for the event and ensuring that it would be a safe space for all participants. When the day finally arrived, the atmosphere was charged with tension. Alara stood at the front of the gathering hall, looking out at the diverse crowd of supporters, skeptics, and members of the splinter group, all gathered under one roof. "Welcome," she began, her voice calm but firm. "Today, we are here to listen and to understand. We will share our stories and seek common ground. We believe that only through dialogue can we pave the way to healing." As she spoke, she noticed the splinter group's representatives entering the hall. Their expressions were guarded, but Alara sensed a flicker of curiosity among them. She hoped that this was a sign of willingness to engage. The first speaker from the splinter group, a woman with striking features and a fierce demeanor, stood before the crowd. "We are here today because we want to be heard," she declared, her voice ringing with passion. "But we also want you to understand our pain and why we feel the way we do." Alara nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. "Please, share your story. We're here to listen." The woman spoke of their struggles, the injustices they had faced, and the sense of abandonment that had led them to embrace extremism. Alara listened intently, recognizing the importance of validating their experiences, even if she didn't agree with their methods. As the forum progressed, participants from both sides shared their narratives. Some were filled with anger and resentment, while others spoke of hope and healing. Alara facilitated the dialogue, encouraging questions and fostering an atmosphere of respect. "Why should we trust you?" one member of the splinter group asked, skepticism lacing their tone. "You represent everything we oppose." Alara took a deep breath, choosing her words carefully. "Trust is built through action, not words. We're here to show you that we can create change together. Our goal is not to erase your pain, but to acknowledge it and find a way forward." The atmosphere shifted as more stories were shared. Alara witnessed moments of vulnerability and connection that she hadn't expected. The splinter group's representatives began to soften, engaging in dialogue rather than hostility. As the discussions continued, Xylath provided insight, bridging the gap between different perspectives. "We all share the same desires: safety, belonging, and a future free from fear," it stated. "Understanding our shared humanity can lead us to a better path." By the end of the forum, Alara felt a flicker of hope. Though there were still deep-seated divisions, seeds of understanding had been planted. Participants exchanged contact information and agreed to continue the dialogue in smaller groups. In the following weeks, the forums became a regular occurrence, each one building upon the last. Ilara's heart swelled as she witnessed real progress. Members of the splinter group began to collaborate with the coalition on community projects, fostering relationships that had once seemed impossible. But as they moved forward, Alara remained acutely aware of the underlying tensions. She knew that not everyone within the splinter group was committed to peace. Whispers of dissent echoed among some of the extremists, and Alara felt a growing sense of urgency. One evening, as she reviewed the progress of the community projects, Xylath approached her. "There are reports of a faction within the splinter group that remains hostile. They are plotting further attacks to disrupt our efforts." Alara's heart sank. "We can't let them derail what we've built. We need to confront this head-on. If we want to show that change is possible, we must stand against those who seek to undermine our progress." Together, they organized a meeting with the leaders of both the coalition and the splinter group. Alara felt a mix of hope and anxiety as they gathered, knowing this could either solidify their progress or push them back into chaos. "Thank you all for coming," she began, looking around the room. "We are at a crucial juncture. While we have made significant strides toward understanding, we must address the threat posed by those who refuse to embrace change." The atmosphere was tense as the representatives from the splinter group exchanged glances. The woman who had first spoken in the forums, now a pivotal figure in the discussions, leaned forward. We recognize that not everyone is on board with this process. We can't control the actions of every individual in our group. Then we need to find a way to collectively condemn their actions, Ilara urged. If we don't stand united against violence, we risk losing everything we've worked for. Silence hung in the air as they contemplated her words. Finally, the woman spoke, her voice resolute. You're right. We must show that we are not all the same. We stand for peace, and we must demonstrate that. The room erupted in discussion, strategies flowing as they crafted a united front against the faction that threatened their hard-earned progress. Ilara felt a wave of relief as she watched the leaders collaborate, their shared purpose invigorating the room. Over the following weeks, they launched a campaign to promote peace and solidarity, actively denouncing violence and extremism. They organized rallies, shared stories of hope, and highlighted the transformative power of unity. As the movement gained momentum, Ilara felt a sense of hope blossoming in her heart. People from all walks of life began to join their cause, amplifying their message across the galaxy. The tide was shifting. However, amidst the growing support, the dissenting faction grew more aggressive. Ilara could sense their desperation as they plotted to disrupt the upcoming intergalactic summit, an event that would showcase their coalition's progress and invite other planets to join their movement. We need to protect the summit at all costs, Ilara said during a meeting with her allies. This is our chance to demonstrate the power of unity on a larger scale. Xylath's energy pulsed with intensity. I can create barriers and protective measures, but we must also focus on outreach. We need to ensure that our message reaches those who are still undecided. As the summit day approached, tensions escalated. Ilara felt the weight of responsibility heavier than ever. The summit would be a turning point for their movement, but it also put them at risk of attack. On the day of the event, the hall was filled with representatives from various planets, all eager to witness the coalition's message of peace. Ilara stood at the podium, her heart racing as she looked out at the diverse crowd. "Welcome," she began, her voice steady despite the anxiety churning within her. "Today, we gather not only to celebrate our progress, but to showcase the power of unity. Together, we can create a future built on understanding and collaboration." The audience erupted in applause, their energy lifting her spirits. Ilara felt the connection among them, a shared belief that they could make a difference. As the speeches continued, she sensed a shift in the atmosphere. Xylath's energy flickered, a warning sign that something was amiss. Ilara's heart raced as she scanned the crowd, her instincts on high alert. Suddenly, a loud explosion rocked the hall, sending shockwaves through the space. Panic erupted as debris rained down, and screams filled the air. Ilara instinctively ducked, her mind racing as she processed what was happening. "Xylath," she shouted, desperately trying to reach her ally amid the chaos. "Can you create a barrier?" Engaging defenses, Xylath's voice boomed as it projected energy around the hall. "We must evacuate the area." Ilara fought to maintain her composure. "We need to guide everyone to safety. Stay together," she yelled, her voice cutting through the chaos. As they moved, Ilara spotted members of the splinter group among the chaos, their faces twisted with anger and desperation. "They're trying to sabotage us," she realized, her heart racing. "Stay close," she urged her allies as they began to form a defensive line against the approaching extremists. They fought valiantly, determination fueling their every move. "Push back! We're not letting them win," Ilara shouted, rallying her allies as they formed a united front. Community meetings to debrief and share their experiences. The energy was a mix of resilience and determination, as they transformed the chaos of the attack into a catalyst for deeper understanding and cooperation. Ilara led the discussions, guiding her allies through their emotions. "We can't ignore what happened," she said one evening, her voice steady. "But we must use it to strengthen our resolve. We need to focus on healing, not just within our community, but with those who oppose us." Xylath stood beside her, its energy flickering softly. "This is an opportunity to reach out. We can invite members of the splinter group to participate in the healing process. Dialogue is essential. The idea sparked hesitation among some delegates. But what if they just come to attack us again? One of them asked, uncertainty etched on their face. Then we'll stand together, Ilara replied firmly. We've shown we can defend ourselves, but let's also show we can extend a hand. We can't break the cycle of violence if we don't engage. After much discussion, they decided to host a series of forums specifically inviting the splinter group. It was a daunting prospect, but Ilara believed that if they truly wanted to create change, they had to be willing to engage with their adversaries. The first forum was set for 2 weeks later. As the date approached, Ilara felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. She worked tirelessly with her allies, preparing for the event and ensuring that it would be a safe space for all participants. When the day finally arrived, the atmosphere was charged with tension. Ilara stood at the front of the gathering hall, looking out at the diverse crowd, supporters, skeptics, and members of the splinter group, all gathered under one roof. Welcome, she began, her voice calm but firm. Today, we are here to listen and to understand. We will share our stories and seek common ground. We believe that only through dialogue can we pave the way to healing. As she spoke, she noticed the splinter group's representatives entering the hall. Their expressions were guarded, but Ilara sensed a flicker of curiosity among them. She hoped that this was a sign of willingness to engage. The first speaker from the splinter group, a woman with striking features and a fierce demeanor, stood before the crowd. We are here today because we want to be heard, she declared, her voice ringing with passion. But we also want you to understand our pain and why we feel the way we do. Ilara nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. Please, share your story. We're here to listen. The woman spoke of their struggles, the injustices they had faced, and the sense of abandonment that had led them to embrace extremism. Ilara listened intently, recognizing the importance of validating their experiences, even if she didn't agree with their methods. As the forum progressed, participants from both sides shared their narratives. Some were filled with anger and resentment, while others spoke of hope and healing. Ilara facilitated the dialogue, encouraging questions and fostering an atmosphere of respect. Why should we trust you? One member of the splinter group asked, skepticism lacing their tone. You represent everything we oppose. Ilara took a deep breath, choosing her words carefully. Trust is built through action, not words. We're here to show you that we can create change together. Our goal is not to erase your pain, but to acknowledge it and find a way forward. The atmosphere shifted as more stories were shared. Ilara witnessed moments of vulnerability and connection that she hadn't expected. The splinter group's representatives began to soften, engaging in dialogue rather than hostility. As the discussions continued, Zylath provided insight, bridging the gap between different perspectives. We all share the same desires: safety, belonging, and a future free from fear, it stated. Understanding our shared humanity can lead us to a better path. By the end of the forum, Ilara felt a flicker of hope. Though there were still deep-seated divisions, seeds of understanding had been planted. Participants exchanged contact information and agreed to continue the dialogue in smaller groups. In the following weeks, the forums became a regular occurrence, each one building upon the last. Ilara's heart swelled as she witnessed real progress. Members of the splinter group began to collaborate with the coalition on community projects, fostering relationships that had once seemed impossible. But as they moved forward, Ilara remained acutely aware of the underlying tensions. She knew that not everyone within the splinter group was committed to peace. Whispers of dissent echoed among some of the extremists, and Ilara felt a growing sense of urgency. One evening, as she reviewed the progress of the community projects, Zylath approached her. There are reports of a faction within the splinter group that remains hostile. They are plotting further attacks to disrupt our efforts. Ilara's heart sank. We can't let them derail what we've built. We need to confront this head-on. If we want to show that change is possible, we must stand against those who seek to undermine our progress. Together, they organized a meeting with the leaders of both the coalition and the splinter group. Ilara felt a mix of hope and anxiety as they gathered, knowing this could either solidify their progress or push them back into chaos. "Thank you all for coming," she began, looking around the room. "We are at a crucial juncture. While we have made significant strides toward understanding, we must address the threat posed by those who refuse to embrace change." The atmosphere was tense as the representatives from the splinter group exchanged glances. The woman who had first spoken in the forums, now a pivotal figure in the discussions, leaned forward. "We recognize that not everyone is on board with this process. We can't control the actions of every individual in our group. Then we need to find a way to collectively condemn their actions," Ilara urged. "If we don't stand united against violence, we risk losing everything we've worked for." Silence hung in the air as they contemplated her words. Finally, the woman spoke, her voice resolute. "You're right. We must show that we are not all the same. We stand for peace, and we must demonstrate that." The room erupted in discussion, strategies flowing as they crafted a united front against the faction that threatened their hard-earned progress. Ilara felt a wave of relief as she watched the leaders collaborate, their shared purpose invigorating the room. Over the following weeks, they launched a campaign to promote peace and solidarity, actively denouncing violence and extremism. They organized rallies, shared stories of hope, and highlighted the transformative power of unity. As the movement gained momentum, Ilara felt a sense of hope blossoming in her heart. People from all walks of life began to join their cause, amplifying their message across the galaxy. The tide was shifting. However, amidst the growing support, the dissenting faction grew more aggressive. Ilara could sense their desperation as they plotted to disrupt the upcoming intergalactic summit, an event that would showcase their coalition's progress and invite other planets to join their movement. "We need to protect the summit at all costs," Ilara said during a meeting with her allies. "This is our chance to demonstrate the power of unity on a larger scale." Xylath's energy pulsed with intensity. "I can create barriers and protective measures, but we must also focus on outreach. We need to ensure that our message reaches those who are still undecided." As the summit day approached, tensions escalated. Ilara felt the weight of responsibility heavier than ever. The summit would be a turning point for their movement, but it also put them at risk of attack. On the day of the event, the hall was filled with representatives from various planets, all eager to witness the coalition's message of peace. Ilara stood at the podium, her heart racing as she looked out at the diverse crowd. "Welcome," she began, her voice steady despite the anxiety churning within her. "Today, we gather not only to celebrate our progress, but to showcase the power of unity. Together, we can create a future built on understanding and collaboration." The audience erupted in applause, their energy lifting her spirits. Ilara felt the connection among them, a shared belief that they could make a difference. As the speeches continued, she sensed a shift in the atmosphere. Xylath's energy flickered, a warning sign that something was amiss. Ilara's heart raced as she scanned the crowd, her instincts on high alert. Suddenly, a loud explosion rocked the hall, sending shockwaves through the space. Panic erupted as debris rained down and screams filled the air. Ilara instinctively ducked, her mind racing as she processed what was happening. "Xylath," she shouted, desperately trying to reach her ally amid the chaos. "Can you create a barrier?" Engaging defenses, Xylath's voice boomed as it projected energy around the hall. "We must evacuate the area." Ilara fought to maintain her composure. "We need to guide everyone to safety. Stay together," she yelled, her voice cutting through the chaos. As they moved, Ilara spotted members of the splinter group among the chaos, their faces twisted with anger and desperation. "They're trying to sabotage us," she realized, her heart racing. "Stay close," she urged her allies as they began to form a defensive line against the approaching extremists. They fought valiantly, determination fueling their every move. "Push back! We're not letting them win," Ilara shouted, rallying her allies as they formed a united front. Everyone can thrive, where our differences become our strengths instead of our divides." The crowd erupted in applause, a wave of energy washing over her. Elara smiled, her heart swelling with gratitude and pride. They had transformed from a community fractured by fear and conflict into one woven together by shared purpose and resilience. As the evening continued, stories were shared and laughter echoed through the air. People mingled, breaking down barriers that had once seemed insurmountable. Elara wandered among the crowd, soaking in the camaraderie, when she noticed the woman from the Splinter Group speaking with a coalition member. Their conversation appeared earnest, filled with nods and gestures of understanding. Elara felt a rush of hope as she realized how far they had come. It was a tangible sign that healing was possible. Later, as the festivities began to wind down, Elara took a moment to step outside, breathing in the cool night air. The stars above twinkled like diamonds, reminding her of the vast universe. They inhabited, a universe filled with endless possibilities. "Are you content?" Xylath asked, its energy glowing softly beside her. "I am," she replied, her heart full. "But I know this is just the beginning. There's still work to do." Xylath nodded, a gentle hum resonating from its form. "You have shown great courage, Elara. You've inspired not just your community, but those who once stood against you. Your journey has only just begun." Elara looked up at the stars, pondering the path ahead. "I know we can't erase the past, but we can create a future that honors it. One where understanding triumphs over hatred." "Yes," Xylath said, its energy brightening. "And in that future, every voice matters. The journey of healing is continuous, but you are not alone." As she turned to face the gathering hall, she saw the mingling of old adversaries and newfound allies. They were forging connections that would last a lifetime, rewriting their narratives with each shared experience. In the weeks and months that followed, the coalition continued to thrive. The intergalactic summit they had hosted became an annual event, celebrating their progress and inviting others to join in their quest for peace. Representatives from other planets began to attend, eager to learn from their journey and apply it to their own struggles. Elara worked tirelessly, organizing initiatives that focused on education and understanding. They created programs that brought together diverse communities, fostering conversations that celebrated their differences while highlighting their shared humanity. As their influence spread, Elara often reflected on the fragile balance of unity and the need for vigilance. There would always be those who resisted change, but she believed that as long as they remained committed to dialogue, they could face any challenge. One evening, as she prepared for another gathering, she received word that members of the Splinter Group had reached out. They wanted to collaborate on a project to further promote peace in their galaxy. Elara felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. "I think this could be a pivotal moment," she told Xylath. "If they're willing to engage, it might show others that change is possible." "It is a risk," Xylath cautioned, "but one worth taking. Trust has to be rebuilt, and this could be a step toward healing." With determination, Elara agreed to meet with them. The discussions were charged with tension, but also hope. She listened as the Splinter members articulated their vision for collaboration, a project centered on creating safe spaces for dialogue across their communities. Days turned into weeks as they worked together. Elara saw firsthand the effort it took to bridge the gaps of mistrust. Yet, with every conversation, the barriers began to erode. The Splinter members brought their perspectives to the table, and Elara's coalition shared their experiences, creating a tapestry of understanding that began to unite them. On the day of the collaborative launch, Elara stood before the gathered crowd, feeling a surge of emotion. "Today, we are not just celebrating a project. We are celebrating our choice to embrace each other despite our past," she began, her voice resonating with passion. As she spoke, she could see the Splinter Group members standing beside her, their expressions a mix of resolve and hope. "This is a testament to what we can achieve when we choose understanding over division, when we reject violence in favor of dialogue." The crowd erupted into applause, and Elara felt tears prick at her eyes. This was the culmination of everything they had fought for, an acknowledgement that even the deepest wounds could be healed. As the evening progressed, laughter and conversations filled the air. Old adversaries were now allies, forging connections that would ripple across the galaxy. Elara watched with a sense of fulfillment, knowing they had not only transformed their community, but had also set a precedent for others to follow. As the stars twinkled above, she knew their journey was far from over. There would always be challenges ahead, but now they faced them together, armed with the knowledge that understanding could prevail over conflict. In the end, Elara understood that her humanity was not primitive. It was powerful, capable of profound change when united in purpose, and in that unity lay the truth, that together they could punch a hole in the barriers of fear and build a future rich with possibility. As she looked out at the faces in the crowd, she felt a renewed sense of hope. The truth had emerged, and it was beautiful.